Did you hear The Undertaker started a podcast? Well, you heard wrong. Mark Calaway has a podcast, not The Undertaker. After getting over 500,000 views on his first episode, Taker's views are now dropping by over 40%. Find out why 30 years of kayfabe could be keeping Calaway from sustained success on YouTube and might actually send this podcast 6 feet under. Welcome to Video SEO Club. So when you get to The Undertaker's homepage, you'll notice right here a banner, 6 feet under with Mark Calaway. It's the name of the channel. In under a year, they've been able to achieve 257,000 subscribers. They have 65 videos and 24 million collective views on the whole channel. And you'll see all the social accounts here, brief description, your standard stuff on a YouTube channel. Scrolling down, we have the 6 feet under playlist, which are all the full episodes. Makes sense. Last updated 3 days ago. Then we have great moments from 6 feet under. I kind of find that to be a weird playlist given the podcast isn't a year old yet. So to call it great moments, but I understand it's highlights. Maybe clips from 6 feet under. There's no reason to criticize it. We have the regular videos, then popular videos. And you'll see the most popular video 4 months ago here. Undertaker talking about rooming with the Iron Sheik. So that had to be pretty interesting. The Iron Sheik, always perennial hot topic in the wrestling industry. Then we see a video here from a month ago. Undertaker on Cody Rhodes, Triple H, Royal Rumble, The Rock's return, and more. So this was the first podcast that The Undertaker put out. 549,000 views. You see some stuff about Goldust. Top little dudes in wrestling, I guess. I might have gone with cruiserweights in the title, but I'm not going to challenge the dead man on his SEO. And here we see some shorts. And it makes sense to have shorts at the very bottom of the page. That's where they belong. So The Undertaker and his team, they're doing a great job with the homepage. There's not a lot you can criticize here. The first actual podcast on The Undertaker's channel happened about a month ago. And it's the video that has 500,000 views. It's about Cody Rhodes, Triple H, Royal Rumble, The Rock's return. So it makes sense that over 500,000 people were interested in checking out The Undertaker's first podcast. But take a look at that second episode here. Only a fraction of the people who tuned into that first episode actually tuned into the second episode. So what's that tell you? Clearly there was some sort of disconnect on that first episode that made 400,000 people decide not to tune in to the second episode. So for that reason, let's go ahead and dig into the analytics here on The Undertaker's YouTube channel. We'll sort this by the last 3 months because he's really only been active with the podcast for 1 month. And you'll see he had that first big bump a little bit over a month ago. 8 million views right there. And you kind of see the trajectory since then. Those subscribers. Puts up his first podcast, gets a huge bump. 172,000 of his 200 plus thousand came in the last 3 months. The videos published, he's published 44 in this time period. So let's look at the last month. It's not too shabby, it's 6 million views, but he's down 43% in the last 30 days. Undertaker got 34,000 subscribers in the last 30 days, but even that is down 75%. His output of videos is down 17%. That doesn't matter a whole lot, but just look at these numbers. Down 43% in views, down 75% in subscribers. Now, The Undertaker is one of the most successful wrestlers to ever exist. So why would his podcast have trouble connecting with a highly saturated wrestling audience on YouTube? Well, it's because The Undertaker doesn't have a podcast. Mark Calaway has a podcast. And that's not a dig on Mark Calaway. I mean, we can't expect him to be in kayfabe and pretending that he's the dead man or the American badass, or even Mean Mark Callis. But what it does illustrate is the fact that fans have a relationship with The Undertaker for 30 years, not with Mark Calaway. So when we see The Undertaker going through these mundane, everyday life situations, about building his house, or things of that nature, it doesn't inspire the same emotional response that fans get when they see him driving a guy with the tombstone pile driver into the mat. That's why you've seen 400,000 people decide to tune out on that second episode. Now, we noticed 3 weeks ago, The Undertaker did a podcast with Michelle McCool here that says Undertaker broke kayfabe to save Michelle McCool's life. Now, why did that one do substantially better than the episode before it that literally only received 69,000 views? Because we have some great components in that title. They did a great job with the title. Undertaker broke kayfabe. Those 3 words right there, we know The Undertaker rarely ever broke kayfabe. So now you're saying he did it to save his wife's life? Well, that's interesting. So clearly people tuned in. So that's something that's on the right track. And then you see the episode after that, number 5. Undertaker explains why he never wrestled Sting. That was a dream match that many people had. And that's why that episode received 229,000 views. But still, it's almost 200,000 fewer views than 3 weeks previous with the Michelle McCool episode. Then episode number 6, you see, it centers around Paul Heyman, who was just announced being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, 100,000 views. So 100,000 less than the Sting episode. The most recent episode from just 3 days ago, they had this Kill Tony guy. I'm not sure who he is. Clearly, he's a successful YouTuber or podcaster. They have him on the show, and the title is Tony Hinchcliffe, I believe that's how you say his name, Kill Tony, was raised in the Attitude Era. It's just, there's not a lot of emotion behind that title. And clearly, you see the response has been 72,000 views. So let's sort this channel by the most popular videos, and that kind of gives us a roadmap on the type of podcasts that Mark Calaway and his team should be doing. You gotta understand, they have a lot of things working against them. Number 1, it's being sold as the Undertaker podcast. Number 2, The Undertaker's not on the show, it's Mark Calaway. So you have these difficulties. Most popular thing, the worst roommate Undertaker ever had. Why'd that do well? Well, first we have Iron Sheik, who's a completely polarizing figure in the wrestling world. And literally, The Undertaker saying he was the worst roommate. So we're going to want to know why. Why did this video do so well? Well, it was his first podcast episode. 500,000 views. Goldust Hall of Fame worthy. What does The Undertaker think? Well, it's a polarizing thing. It's a yes or no, right? Goldust was one of the most polarizing wrestlers in history. So The Undertaker weighing in on this subject is going to carry some weight and it's going to generate some interest. Undertaker rates his top wrestling promo cutters. I would have just left that title at Undertaker rates his top wrestling promos, or Undertaker names his top wrestling promos. But that's being nitpicky. The title's fine. See, people are extremely nostalgic about wrestling promos. And if you look at this thumbnail here, we have some of the top promos to ever hit a mic in wrestling. So people will want to see how The Undertaker ranks these classic wrestlers. So it makes sense. And then you have a clip video from one of his podcasts, Undertaker on the first time he met The Rock. Well, The Rock, he's involved in WrestleMania this year. He's come back to WWE. The Undertaker's going to talk about the first time he ever met The Rock, which is clearly before The Rock ever reached any superstardom in WWE. He was probably still Rocky Maivia, or maybe even Flex Kavana at that time. So that's interesting to fans. And you'll notice some of the most popular videos on The Undertaker's channel have this old style thumbnail format. It's not the new style thumbnail format, and that's up to you which one is better stylistically, but I go off analytics, I go off data. I would say go back to that old format to a degree, because the new format clearly is not getting as much action. But that could also have to do with the titles, which are completely contingent upon the subject matter of the videos. So as Mark Calaway and his team navigates how to be successful on YouTube, I'd say just sorting your videos by popularity will give you a clear roadmap on the content you need to create to connect with a larger audience, if that makes sense. But there is a ton of interest in The Undertaker on YouTube. If you just look right here, he's getting 400,000 searches a month, 92% competition. And clearly the search intent behind that Undertaker keyword phrase is about Mark Calaway's podcast, because you see he's ranking number 1 right here. His channel's number 1. His content's 1 and 2. You have his shorts here, latest shorts from 6 Feet Under Mark Calaway, so that's perfect. He's beating out the WWE, which is a YouTube juggernaut. He has his posts coming up here, so we know that when people are searching Undertaker on YouTube, they're looking for content around The Undertaker. But based on the performance of the most recent podcasts on Mark Calaway's channel, they're not necessarily looking for that, which can be a problem. Because we see a drastic difference in searches around the name Mark Calaway. It's 9,000 searches a month, right? Well, of course it's going to be drastically fewer searches, because everyone knows him by The Undertaker. That's what we've called him for 30 years. Mark Calaway, it's kind of a new concept for fans, and it's a hell of a lot easier to remember Undertaker and type that in if you're really going to search it on YouTube. And you see right here, the full title of the podcast, 6 Feet Under with Mark Calaway, is receiving 17,000 searches a month, 51% competition. So yeah, it's drastically different than The Undertaker, but for the purposes of their channel, it doesn't really matter because they're owning that Undertaker keyword phrase. It's so valuable. So if they started making content more like the stuff that they made before the podcast, they would be crushing that. It's insane that they're actually beating out the WWE. So The Undertaker has about 33 shorts on his page since he started the channel. And let's sort this by most popular. So here you have this unfortunate title, Don't Sleep When Vince is Around. Why do you think that's doing well? I don't even have to go into that. 3.5 million views. Coco Beware calls out Undertaker. 2 million views. WWE employee fired because of Undertaker. 1 billion views. Piper uses Undertaker to get out of court. That sounds interesting. 1 million. So he's got some winners here at the very top. Now let's sort it by the latest shorts. Kill Tony there. Tony Hinchcliffe was raised in the Attitude Era. It's more of a statement than something that's going to intrigue people, so not the best title. Tag Match from Hell, 75,000 views. It's perfect. Let's take a look at that one. Let's see if they're tagging a video in there. They are. So they tagged the podcast about Paul Heyman's induction. Let's look at the description. Not a lot of hashtags, but still it performed well. So there's not a lot that you can criticize there. Let's take a look at these comments. Do we have a pinned comment? No pinned comment. Well, it was just posted a couple of days ago, but you see the comments are very engaged. Now, we can't expect The Undertaker to go in there and reply to every comment, but a pinned comment, maybe talking about the next episode or engaging in something here, might be of value. So the shorts are doing pretty good. I'd say they're executing as they should be here. One of the more underutilized components of YouTube is the community tab. You could get a lot of growth there, and we see here that Mark Calaway is using it the right way. So we have an image here talking about something that happened back in 2020, the Boneyard match. See, we got 1,000 thumbs up on that, 91 comments. Anything pinned in here? No, nothing pinned. You might want to pin some sort of video there. So when I talk about the community tab being underutilized by many creators, what I mean is you could really get growth on your videos here. You could post these things as little updates, and that's fine. It's YouTube's attempt at trying to be a social feed, and it's actually something that's beneficial if you have a link to a video, a specific video, or even if it was in a pinned comment. As you'll see here, we're kind of going over things that happened in the past, Undertaker's wrestling career. You're getting engagement on this, 4,000 thumbs up, and here we actually see it, a pinned comment. This is what I'm talking about. They did this right, and what are they promoting here? Get your new 6 Feet Under merch from the link below, and every dollar you spend on merch will get you an entry to win the 30th anniversary Undertaker signed WWE Championship belt. Now, let's see this landing page. I'm just curious. That's clean. Promoting that belt right there. They did it right. So they are doing the community tab pretty well. Actually, a lot better than most channels. Because you can see here, they're promoting a video here. And that's the Kill Tony episode. Here, they're also promoting the video with Paul Heyman. And they're using an animated GIF, which is very intelligent. Looks like here they're trying to encourage people to boost them on Spotify. So they're doing the right things. They're doing community outreach in the community tab. That's what it was kind of established for, right? In the name, of course. So they're doing that well. They're doing it great. So just to go over the descriptions of these videos, we do see they're making an effort to put in some sort of description that kind of helps you from an SEO standpoint. They don't need a whole lot of help from an SEO standpoint because they're literally ranking #1 for Undertaker, which is a huge phrase. They've already won there, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to put that in there. And you can repurpose that on Spotify and other platforms where maybe they're not hitting as hard. And we do see some chapters here, which is good. And that's always good to have in your longer videos. And these chapters are titled appropriately. They have some keywords in them, so that works. We see all the Undertaker's social links represented here. And that kind of leads us into Patreon. So The Undertaker just started his podcast about a month ago, and he's already got himself a Patreon. So for a $5 a month old school membership, you get an exclusive series every Wednesday and looks behind the scenes of Mark's 30-plus years as a wrestler, including his life in and out of the ring. But I think that that's kind of what we've established as being a drawback on the performance of some of these podcasts, in my opinion. $6 a month gets you old school early access. You'll have everything in the old school tier, plus early access to every episode drop of 6 Feet Under. You get them on Monday. The most popular, though, and also the most expensive, is the $10 a month Streak membership. So you get everything that was promised in the other two tiers, plus you can submit questions directly to Mark Calaway to answer in future episodes, and you'll get a shout out from The Undertaker whenever he reads your questions. So for a huge fan, it's probably worth it, right? You see they're pretty active on Patreon. Just yesterday they were answering questions. At least they're giving the fans that want to engage this way their money's worth, right? All in all, I'll say Mark Calaway's experience with YouTube is going to be an uphill battle if he continues the podcast the way he's going. Now, he's getting a lot of good views on these podcasts, or qualified views, but we see that they're diminishing views. They're going down with every episode. So if I'm steering the ship of a YouTube channel and I see my views going down with every single video that I upload, I might reach back to those videos that were more successful and kind of determine what the formula was based on that data that made those videos successful and what we changed in that formula that makes the new videos less successful. When it comes to YouTube, it's always AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. While The Undertaker will always hold the attention, he's ranking #1 for a huge phrase on YouTube, the interest just might not be there. And then there's a decision not to click the video, and then there's your action, which is actually inaction, lower views, which could maybe jeopardize sponsorships down the road. Now, I don't wish that for The Undertaker. I don't wish that for any creator, actually. But it really illustrates the importance of YouTube being a people-focused platform. It's not necessarily about what you want to create as much as it is creating for your audience, creating for what people want to engage. And while there might be some diehard fans out there that are wondering what Mark Calaway ate for breakfast, the vast majority are really wondering if Hogan's head really connected at Survivor Series 91. And like highly successful businessman turned YouTube fanatic Eric Bischoff always says, controversy creates cash. So maybe if Mark Calaway brought a little more controversial topics into his podcast, he'd be doing as well as some other creators on the platform. And if you're going to bring on guests, why not bring on wrestlers? Look, a guest can make or break your podcast. Just ask Shannon Sharpe. He rolled the dice and let Cat Williams grab that hot mic, and the rest was history, which definitely catapulted his channel beyond where it was before and established him as one of the leaders in terms of YouTube podcasts. If you want to learn how Shannon Sharpe broke the internet with his Cat Williams interview and was able to get 50 million views in 10 days, check this video out right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on Video SEO Club.